How's it going, guys, and welcome to Game Involved. I'm Shifty Cow, and in today's video we have another episode of Forumfield for you guys. So if you do go on to enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like down below, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe for more awesome gaming content. So our first post says, Paratroopers in each map would be awesome. Deploying jeeps and soldiers, I hope they put this idea. Now, this is a pretty broad topic. It doesn't really go into much specifics on how they would implement this, but I think they could do some really cool things with this. Apparently, they had something like this in Battlefield 3, but I never really got into playing that much, and especially on the DLC maps, I really didn't get to touch those at all. But this would be a pretty cool idea from what it sounds like. My first thought was that obviously verticality is a huge issue with rooftop camping and getting into areas that you really can't counter unless you have an air vehicle or unless you're able to get up there through another way, such as a spawn beacon. So I was thinking about it, and one of the ways I was thinking we could fix this is the only way it could be called in is if your team was doing pretty poorly and were in basically a spawn trap. So if the enemy team had 4 or all of the bases, then a relatively slow moving plane would start coming in at a pretty high altitude because you don't want to have stingers locking onto this thing, and basically would just act as a quick little spawn beacon for, let's say, 20 seconds, so that way the team that's getting spawn camped gets a little bit more of a chance to kind of redeploy around the map, capture some more objectives, and it really is just going to make the game a lot more fun, because I've had a lot of rounds where I'm on a team and they're just completely dominating, and it ends up just making it a competition to get kills with your teammates, and that's really just no fun for anyone, and especially on the other team, if you're getting spawn camped, there's pretty much nothing you can do. So although this was a really broad idea, it didn't get into much specifics, I think if they were to put it in as kind of a counter to spawn camping, this could be a really cool mechanic. So moving on to the next topic, it basically says, how do you guys feel about adding in a short animation for getting in and out of vehicles? So maybe 1 second or 1.5 seconds to kind of hop out of a tank or hop out of a car if we're talking about hardline. And personally, I think this would be a lot more problems than it would be worth, because the first thing that I have a problem with is, are you vulnerable to gunshots? Because this is a pretty controversial idea, and it's pretty much going to break down to 2 scenarios. First of all, if you're not vulnerable to bullets, it's pretty much going to turn into something like the counter knife mechanic, where if you're trying to kill someone and they just turn into a bullet sponge, they're immortal for like a split second while they're knifing that person, and pretty much everyone hates the knifing system. Although that's not the biggest thing they complain about, it really just is very annoying to shoot at someone and have them not take any damage. So that would be a problem by itself. And then if you do decide to make it so if someone hops out of a tank, then they're vulnerable for a solid second to second and a half. Either way, they're probably going to die if they push too far, which that does provide some tactical value, but it can also be incredibly annoying to be forced into an animation that's about a second, you really can't do anything about it, and chances are you're going to get killed. So I really hope they don't add this idea. It is a cool idea, but I don't think it would work out for gameplay, and it does add some realism, but just doesn't boost the gameplay. Now, our third post, I'm actually going to summarize a little bit, because this guy goes on like a 2 or 3 page rant over the sniper class, and basically what he has to say is that they should remove the spawn beacon, and that people shouldn't be playing as a static class where they pretty much play as a sniper the entire round, even when their team's getting completely dominated. Now, on some of the things he said, he actually made some pretty good points. Probably the biggest thing I agree with is that when people are just sniping the entire round, and they're not really helping their team out. Now, they did pay their $60, so they can really do whatever they want, but it is pretty annoying to see someone just sniping in the back of the round, really not helping their team out at all. And then when their team really needs people to make a nice push so they can capture some objectives, they still just sit there and like to just chill and not really help as much. So, in my opinion, one of the biggest things you can do to help your team is play as the right class for that situation. So, for example, if there's a couple tanks and they're just dominating your entire team, but you're still playing as the medic, you should probably switch over to maybe the support class or the engineer. That way you can dispose of the tanks a bit quicker, and then you can switch back to your beloved assault rifle, but you're still helping out the team, you destroyed the tanks, and that could end up winning the game for your team. So I really think that if you're trying to play as one class the entire round, you need to be at least smart with it, with your loadout, whether you're running with C4 or anti-infantry things. Really just be smart with what you're using, and if you're getting spawn camped, I don't think that you need to have a ton of different snipers who really aren't helping with a push. So I get where this guy's pretty annoyed at. And the second thing he mentioned was that they should remove the spawn beacon from the recon class. Now, I was thinking about this, and while I definitely see where he's coming from, because it is very annoying to have someone just sniping up on a rooftop or a really high area that you can't get to, and then they just respawn every time you kill them because obviously they've got that beacon set up. That's pretty annoying, and I think that's why they switched it in hardline, and I'd actually like to see this trend continue. But the biggest problem I have is that the gadgets for the professional and hardline are crazy underpowered. The laser trip mine is annoying as balls. Like, don't get me wrong, that thing is crazy powerful, but other than that, there's really nothing that's worth using. The camera's pretty useless, and off the top of my head, I can't even think of the other gadgets because they're just so useless. Like, I never end up using them. I will lay down my trip mines and then just go on my way and use my sniper. So I think if they were to do this, they definitely need to add some kind of power to the professional class or the recon class, depending on what Battlefield game it is. But I think if they were to remove this gadget, they need to put something in its place to fill it in, because as it sits, I think the recon's already hard enough to play. It is very satisfying, but overall, they would have to come up with some adjustments for this. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. As always, if you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like down below. Go check out our Twitter, and if you have any video suggestions or loadouts, be sure to tell us down in the comments below. As always, guys, stay battery.